Good afternoon, Dr. Professor Watson. My name is Francis Kasonde. Um, I want to say that I'm very, very grateful to have this time to actually give my presentation. And I also want to welcome members of the class, those that are going to have an opportunity to be part of this presentation. I will be talking about governance and corruption in Central Africa with a perspective on Zambia. As you all know, Zambia is a country in Southern Africa, or to be rather specific, in South Central Africa. And however, before I go into the more of the discussion, which is corruption in Zambia and how it pertains to other countries as well in the region, I want to start by saying thank you to Professor Watson for his relentless efforts and actually, as a student, giving me the advice, and I believe as well with other students, that is very significant when it comes to conducting a research. I say this because I remember at one time every student had an opportunity as part of the assignment to call in and be able to actually present your research before him over the phone, of course, during his normal hours, and just kind of like explain what I thought about my research, what were my problems on the research. And I can honestly say that within that shortest period of time, he was able to actually advise me, direct me on how I should be able to approach my research. I mean, there are so many things that I've learned in terms of the technicalities, the modalities on how to approach a research. How to zero in down to the very center, the niche of the research, and to leave all these general aspects, in other words, that are irrelevant in your research. Some of the things that I think that during the entire process in this class and through the doing research papers, I have come to understand that research skills are vital for writing a paper, of course, which is, I believe, the most significant aspect of the research. I also come to learn that research is important in terms of collecting sufficient information about the topic and how to document, in other words, how to present that research in that paper. Of course, I mean, I've learned to use books or journals, the electronic library, like the one Bellevue University has, catalogs to gather information that are very, very significant for research. I also have learned through this class, the PS 620, that research skills are also vital and involve problem solving abilities. People with problem solving abilities are able to identify, define the scope of problems and analyze them carefully. And this is something that I believe I'll be able to apply not only in this class, but I also believe that even in other classes to come. And I also believe that probably even in beyond the master's program, I believe that I'll be able to apply these technicalities. After the evaluation of every research information and data, then I can be able to provide the most useful solutions in the context of the problem. For example, research skills, including the ability to define a problem or research question, design a study, like what I've been doing throughout the program, has enabled me to be able to bring this research information into designing a study to find answers, to design the appropriate instruments, for example, the code, and analyze the data, report, orally and in writing on the findings and make recommendations based on the findings uh, through the entire research. I've been able to conceptualize projects from inception to conclusion, which I find to be the most one of the significant keys in this research. Research skills are vital in the sense that through my understanding and my learning through this class are vital because they have enabled me to have excellent research skills in in approaching the study in a professional way, which is important because it enables me as a student of a graduate student to comprehend and with paternity information about various cases. I also want to say that it also helps in it has also helped me thoroughly in understanding the cases that are critical components of success as a graduate student. These are personal skills or life skills that are derived from just learning and understanding research skills and understanding the study itself. I've come with a maturity and a much trial and error. Sometimes I didn't really understand probably what I needed to do in order to come up with an excellent research, but by actually approaching the study with a trial and error situation in order to get to the point of to get to the very center of the research, I had to do a lot of research, and with the direction from the professor, which I greatly appreciate, and I believe other students do as well. I can confidently say that I can undertake almost any research basically by using the same principles and methodological approach to the research. I believe each of these skills will be essential to my ability to excel. Probably even if I ever get a chance, probably even in my PhD studies or anything like that, as well as being integral to my future professional endeavors. Finally, I want to say on the research aspect. Finally, I want to say that information literacy. I find the significance in its ability to locate and process useful information effectively. The information that I've been able to gather from every research has been able to provide and to develop appropriate criteria and used to evaluate information, e.g., how to be able to understand copyright rights and to be able to respect other individual research, by giving credit to them in order to keep my research of high integrity and to be by respecting other copyright rights that other people have done in the research. And to this effect, I am very, very grateful. Like I said again, to the professor, because I know, to Professor Watson, because I know that without his timely advice, it would be very, very difficult to undertake a research of such magnitude. I also want to, if I can begin to talk about now the topic of my discussion, which is governance and corruption in Central Africa, the Zambian perspective. I said the Zambian perspective because my focus is on Zambia, because governments in South Central Africa or the Central region of Africa are more likely the same. And I believe that by looking at Zambia, I'm bringing out what it's reflected within the governance in that part of Africa. With Zambia, with respect to Zambia, despite several steps taken by the previous government, of course the MMD government, in order to fight corruption in Zambia, there has not been a dramatic improvement in the public perception of anti-corruption efforts over the past years. Corruption still remains pervasive, sad to say that, in the country, yet the situation is considered relatively better by the coming of the patriotic front of the late Michael Sata, the former president Michael Sata. Unnecessarily long, though I should admit that the levels of corruption in Zambia have only complicated the administrative procedures which are common in Zambia's business environment, leading many companies to operate in a formal sector that has the high risk of widespread use of facilitation payments through corruption is also high due to the bureaucratic procedures for obtaining licenses, as we'll see in the study again on economic liberalization, uh, privatization, political liberalization again from a one-party state to a multi-party democracy, which in many aspects they, they are accredited to President Chiluba, which is was a good thing for the multi-party democracy. But as we'll see again through this discussion, presentation rather, you'll be able to see that the democratic dispensation of a multi-party democracy in Zambia, as much as it has been praised to be a good and effective achievement for the country in the region in terms of democracy, it brought its own problems in terms of economic corruption, as we'll see. If I can also point out that the failure to distinguish between the many forms of corruption inevitably impacts on the quality of the public debate as regards to Zambia, and I believe in many parts of the world. In particular, it prevents accurate retelling of history and undermines the search for effective solutions. For example, until we understand the multifaceted nature of corruption, we won't be clear whether corruption is worse under the previous government or the present government, or probably even for other governments to come. I would say that we also need to be able to understand the extent to which the supposed ongoing fight against corruption is being implemented in the country, in Zambia. Even before we get a chance to look at the policy reforms of President Chiluba, because he was the second democratically elected leader of Zambia, and it was during this time that political reforms, economic reforms, and different policies on liberalization and the privatization of the many economic and parastatal companies of Zambia started taking place, which also is marked as the era of rampant corruption in the country, and probably so much corruption in the country that it is regarded as during that time as one of the most corrupt countries in the country, in the region. I want to start saying first that the laws of Zambia, according to the Act of Parliament number 42 of 1996, and this is just after the MMD came in. This was after probably 5 years after the MMD was in power. 1996 defines corruption as the soliciting, accepting, giving, offering, or gratification, and I quote, by way of a bribe or other personal temptation or indictment, or the misuse of abuse of a public office for private advantage or benefit. This is a broad definition that definitely deserves some interpretation in depth. As one reflects between the many voices of corruption, it becomes, and this is the problem that I've seen even in Zambia and in other parts of the world, including in the context of the Central Africa region, it becomes really clear that as a nation, most countries face significant challenges in eliminating corruption. The rise of the political and economic liberalism, for example, in the case of Zambia in 1991, only spanned a new culture of corruption, which has been overseen by those in power. And as I said before, the new politics brought a new electoral competition, which led to greater political bribery, intense lobbying from foreign investors and other groups. Privatization led to a culture of responsible borrowing, responsibility with significant public theft, which continues to persist even to this day. It has taken 2 decades to build a culture of corruption, and I believe it will take a much longer period of time to actually reduce the high levels of corruption in the country. Because corruption is it's a vice that affects and infiltrates any political system, economic system, even a social culture of any country. It's like a cancer that just begins to spread, especially if it's never critically attended to. It will just continue to destroy. So, looking at the reforms within the MMD government that actually led Zambia to become more corrupt and allowed the corruption to be on its height in the country and in the region, was because of these seemingly good policies of economic liberalization and political liberalism as well. You know, these affected the country in so many ways. Because as the country began to experience privatization, which were of course the reforms of the MMD government under President Frederick Chiluba, the late. Many of the people now that were in the one-party state system of government during the Kaunda era, who is the first president of the Republic of Zambia, many people now saw it as a means of acquiring personal wealth. In other words, they had this freedom of participating not only in the privatization of the country's economic infrastructure, but they also took it upon themselves to actually manipulate the policies that were supposed to be of economic importance, policies that were supposed to be for economic development, to alleviate the poverty ratings that Zambia faces among the many African states, as reported by the World Bank. Or that probably more than 90% of the population still live in poverty below the poverty line. Instead of actually taking that opportunity of using those economic, political, and social policies that Chiluba put in place, instead those that had the political authority and influence within the government, including the president himself, President Chiluba, they started to use their authority, their access to opportunity in terms of accessing the resources of the country to their own advantages. And now this only saw the country to experience such rampant corruption, that it was a problem in overcoming this device. Instead of uplifting the standards of the Zambian people, many of the people now, continue to experience even as severe and grave poverty levels in the country. But then again, I understand that through this research, you see, it hasn't just been about actually critically analyzing the why these are some of the reforms, of course, which time would not be permissible for me to actually probably go deeper into analyzing these policies. But like I said, these were economic policies of reform, such as liberalization, privatization, and of course political reforms of a multi-party democracy, democratic system in the country, which people of Zambia never experienced for the past probably 27 years after independence, because Zambia used to be under the one-party state under President Kaunda. But then again, you see, through this research again, in my final analysis, the critical analysis of the paper itself, I did point out the recommendations on how probably the country can be able to overcome some of the severe levels of corruption. I mean, it is wise to understand. I think it's wise to understand and also to point out that, you see, I don't believe that Africa lacks leadership. Leadership is there, but I think it's the misuse of leadership that leads the continent, even Zambia in this case, to be involved in mismanagement of the country's resources, to bad and poor governance, is because it's not because of ineffective leaders. You can actually have effective leadership that is not putting their effectiveness to use, but instead they begin to manipulate what they know in order for them to be able to manipulate the bureaucratic system of a country, and be able to siphon those resources for their own advantage. So I wouldn't say that Zambia lacks leadership. The leadership is there, but it's morally corrupt. So we've got this leadership that is taking advantage of the people that probably cannot do much apart from voting them into office, and they are using their leadership and influence in a political system in a political system that's supposed to uphold democratic principles, and they manipulate that and begin to channel their influence through corruption. And this is what the problem is. So I think to critically analyze this situation, we also have to point out that it is part of a psychological problem. You see, it's I think that on moral grounds, on individual moral grounds, people need to become more responsible. We can put in measures about accountability, financial accountability, political resource, governance, economic stabilization measures, and all these technicalities within the system can be implemented. But at the same time, I just don't believe that without addressing the psychological, moral aspect of politicians in the country, they can be corruption can be fought. That's why I think I've also raised the issue of experimenting by actually implementing a social psychological upgrade of leaders, that can empower individuals within their own capacity to take responsibility, to understand that corruption is a vice of not only economic impoverishment or degradation, as the case might be, but that it affects the common soul on the street. It's the common man on the street who actually casts that vote in a democratic dispensation that gets affected. It's not only hundreds of thousands, sometimes it's millions of people, that get affected because of rampant corruption, where a system of governance that people have deliberately put in place cannot sustain their very moral dispensation and objective for which that government has been put in place. I therefore recommend, in part of the research itself, that you see not only prosecution measures, who of course can help, like I said before, psychologically people begin to reflect on that, and they begin to get probably fearful that they'll be prosecuted by getting involved in corruption, the judicial system as well, but then at the same time I think that the nation needs to again upgrade its policies. Every group of leaders, every generation has got a group of leaders that need to come together and be able to inspect within their ability to lead, and I think one of the things I been trying to actually to point out within my research is that, you see, the moral aspect of every individual should be held to high esteem and be accountable for any legalities that may bring a country like Zambia in the region, in the Central Southern African region, into ridicule among other states because of corruption and and development. So finally, again, I just want to say that, you see, this has been an interesting class for me. It has been an interesting research for me, and some of the things that I've learned, that like I said before, that corruption is a transnational, not only state crime, but I believe that corruption can also go international. And unless we learn and understand through courses like the PS620, I believe that, you see, only can we learn how to overcome such negativity and upheavals of corruption, And I'm very, very grateful. And I just want to say thank you so much. And bye bye.